Manufacturers are facing extraordinary challenges today. With labor shortages, supply chain disruptions, and a changing workforce, complex industrial technology doesn't cut it on the front line. What's needed is a new way of working that will not only meet throughput goals, but change the shop floor culture to one of winning, where every worker feels they play a part in achieving the company's goals for success. What's needed is Red Zone, the connected workforce solution.
Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me this week are Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells. We each have more than 20 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Every week, we take the 5 most popular stories on our websites and discuss the implications they have on the industry going forward. Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, David, or Anna at IEN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. We're also live every Thursday, so subscribe on YouTube at IEN Magazine so you can get a notification whenever we go live. Jeff, every week live on Thursday, except last week. That's my bad.
It's all right. Is it? It is David, right?
This
is still?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's younger David now.
Younger David.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Yeah. Thank you. No, it's there's like this running joke in my family about how I'm the only kid, who has seen my father's face, and that was only with his mustache, and so it got to be this thing where my kids had never seen my face, and Riel went for a haircut on Saturday, and the lady, very nice lady, Christina's like, how short can we go? I'm like, how short can you go? And she's like, I'll take that whole thing off your face. I'm just like, all right, go for it.
I was going to say, for those listening, should probably interject that we're talking about David's beard.
Oh, yeah. If you're audio only, I totally cut off all the face fuzz.
Yeah.
But it's coming back. I miss it. It's like, where'd you go, old friend? And just you look in a mirror and you're like, whoa, who is that person? Like still waking up, looking in the mirror, just like, okay. Anna, I see you're clean shaven as well this week.
Yeah, I thought I would.
Just wanted to match.
Keep it up.
Yeah,
Yep.
match the panel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was my wife said welcome back because I always used to shave in the summer and have the beard in the winter, and she liked to say that she had 2 husbands. And she's like, hey, welcome back. And I'm like, wait, what? You okay? What? So still need to unpack that one. But no, it's good to be back. And the scheduling snafu from last week, that's on me. You know, we take a week off, and I thought I planned to have one for every week. And I just, I was putting it on the calendar, I just missed last week. So my bad on that one. Missed you.
Yeah, it's fine. I think like you say snafu, I say, hey, it's summer. We're just kind of.
Yeah, it's
things
summer.
Get a little,
Yeah, we're making drastic life changes. Actually, you know what was crazy? I was like, the number of people that are like, are you having a midlife crisis? I'm just like, I just wanted to shave. So maybe I'm okay, guys. I'm okay. I'm okay, everyone.
All right.
All right. Well, before we get into our first story this week, we have a word from our sponsor, Red Zone. This week's episode is brought to you by Red Zone. Watching employees walk away shortly after spending ample resources training them is incredibly frustrating. And while harder to spot, unengaged or unproductive employees also negatively impact the return on labor investment. A new webinar from Red Zone features experts who discuss the roots of high turnover in manufacturing, how successful leaders support growth for employees, and methods for improving operational visibility. So watch the webinar, How Coil Specialist Tackled Employee Reliability by, quote, leading well. Download it right now. There's a link to it in the body copy as well as the live chat. Our first story this week. Lawsuit claims fired execs stole idea for Hulk Hogan's beer. Karma Holdco collaborates with celebrities to license their likenesses to make branded products. It's, quote, where legends meet licensing. The company is behind Ric Flair's Woo! Energy drinks, that's how they say it, and boxer Mike Tyson's Tyson 2.0 Cannabis Company. They're the reason you can get Mike Bites. Those are the THC gummies shaped like an ear with a little piece missing. Karma says its former president, Chad Bronstein, and former chief legal and licensing officer, Nicole Cosby, stole the concept for Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer and started a new company called ROM Incorporated. According to Karma, the company partnered with Hogan in 2023 to serve as a brand ambassador for Real American Beer. The Independent reported that the original concept included launching a joint venture with Billy and August Bush of the Bush family, who owned the rights to the Real American Lager trademark. Karma allegedly fired Bronstein after it found out that the president had designed the agreement to secure an ownership share in the venture. Cosby was fired for authorizing the arrangement. After they were fired, Hogan cut off Karma and joined them at ROM to sell Real American Beer, which launched last year. Karma says it endured at least $10 million in damages as a result of the alleged violations. The company wants $348,000 from Bronstein, $231,000 from Cosby, and royalties, and a court order to prevent the use of its trade secrets and the sale of any products tied to the alleged stolen information. Jeff, is it hard for you to see Real American Beer tied up in such a royal rumble?
Well played. Well done. I think this is interesting. I think you can really appreciate Karma's frustration here in terms of they sort of put everything in place for this deal to happen, and for whatever reason it did not with Anheuser-Busch there. But I don't understand what the trade secrets are.
Yeah.
I mean, and celebrities have been endorsing products and putting their name on stuff forever. So I don't really, I mean, beer's been around for a little bit too. That's not really a new product. So I don't really understand where they're going to go with this. Again, understanding the frustration, but when somebody like Hulk Hogan makes a decision to go with somebody else as opposed to you, that's sort of what happens. I mean, if there wasn't enough things in place legally, which I don't think it was, that tied him specifically to having to go to market with a beer with Karma, I'm not sure how much grounds they really have for this. And I think a lot of people are probably surprised that Hulk Hogan is still viable.
Yeah.
He is.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me, there is still a very, very lucrative amount of business tied to his name, not just in wrestling, too. I mean, there's a lot of different things that he does outside of wrestling that have generated a lot of revenue. This beer in particular, according to a couple of different sources here, it's the number 2 light beer by SKU in sales per distribution point in the U.S. right now.
That is incredible.
It's selling out.
Yeah.
They do not keep this in stock. I mean, it's only in like 23 out of 50 states right now, but wherever they have it, people are buying it. So again, you can appreciate Karma's frustration with their idea, but not sure there's much they can do here.
Well, and I think part of those sales come to because people, I think, buy it because of the novelty. And then there are people in my family who bought it for the novelty and then drank it, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to buy this again. Because, you know, mostly we're used to seeing novelty products be kind of like a one-and-done sale. This one seems to have some legs. So we'll see if that $10 million figure actually winds up being low in the long run. But now, in my opinion, there's a little bit of evidence out there to support some of these claims. But Anna, what do you think? Does Karma kind of have a leg to stand on here, or are they kind of just, you know, the odd company out after Hogan changes his mind and a couple of execs flee to another company?
It's hard to know exactly what evidence they do have. I think, looking into it, there's not a lot of detail that I was able to find. What I don't understand, I guess, and you have a different perspective on this, but I'm just not really seeing why everyone is like trying to run down this product so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I got a feeling you're not the core demographic.
Oh, I get that. But also, like, if you look at, objective data on what's happening in the beer industry, the beer industry is not doing well. Their sales are down year over year. Do you really want to jump into the market that includes Busch, Bud, Miller, Pabst? I mean, and obviously on marketing alone, that's what it's geared towards. I know that they're talking about how they're selling out, but I feel like it's pretty easy to kind of, present those numbers. And I mean, we don't know if is there scarcity. I mean, I've seen a lot of eBay listings for this product, which suggests to me that people are buying it to hold to resell because they think it's going to either go away or right now it's not available a lot of places. So, I mean, you could sell out a product if you only have 10 cases in a town or whatever. Who knows, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It seems like a product to have a showdown over it. I guess I'm kind of surprised. I'm also a little bit surprised that Hulk Hogan can take the mantle here. And I thought he was like I was reading stuff about him getting booed at WWE events and stuff. I mean, is that true?
Yeah, that's 100% true. Yes. I watch WWE wrestling
I know
very
you do,
religiously.
Jeff.
I do enjoy it, all that stuff. He definitely did. And a lot of that stems from his political stances that he's taken. But that also goes right into, doubles down on who he's partnering with here. When you look at WWE, World of Outlaws, Arena Football, NASCAR, these are all spokes that have come up and are now the official sponsor, or they are the official beer of these sports, these organizations. Yeah. So a lot of these partnerships go hand in hand with a lot of the stuff he's coming out with that was somewhat controversial or polarizing and from his political perspective. But there's that staunch group out there. And again, it is shocking the level of reverence or recognition or whatever you want to say for Hulk Hogan that still exists in for a huge number of people out there.
Well, I mean, we could be real that this is sort of the perfect product for this crossroads of nostalgia and nationalism that we're living right now culturally.
I totally agree. But I just don't know if I don't know. I just don't. The beer market is a tough one to be in. So like you launch a product and see what happens, but it just seems like long term, maybe that's not going to work.
Do you think it's a little planned scarcity?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that always, I mean, that's just smart marketing, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. So what I was mentioning about the evidence, right? So I think there could be a lot of evidence to support these claims, especially if Karma, as reported by The Independent, did hire a designer to create beer can concepts for this real American brand that includes Hogan's name and image, as well as proposals for other brands that it could have been the All-American Lager, it could have been Patriot Pilsner. You know, all of these concepts were provided to Karma back in September 2023. So they have a lot of stuff kind of like, hey, we were already this far down the road. We were in development mode. Then we found out that our president was trying to take a piece for himself, pushed him out, and then everything went sideways. I don't know. I think like a lot of times you hear these stories and they're just like, no, we had like a handshake agreement. We had a napkin. Like there was a deal. But there is real evidence that they were working together on this project for a long time that can be submitted. I don't know. It's not just, he said versus she said.
Sure, but it doesn't, I mean, it's certainly going to come down to if people signed agreements and exclusivity rights for things. And if Hulk Hogan didn't do that, then what's stopping him from going somewhere else?
Yeah, I feel like you're arguing the moral side of this, which I don't think anybody would disagree with, but this is a legal argument.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see how it shakes out. And the other thing is that unlike other brands where we've seen legal issues kind of like stain the brand or the image, like, I mean, Hulk Hogan, we already know, has been more or less uncancelable, or like, he could be resurrected from the cancellation, I guess. And so like, these are two things where like, if you surround this product in controversy, I don't think any of the main consumers are walking away.
Probably doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it might even make them buy more.
I did see that Hulk Hogan and Real American Beer Company are also being sued by an Akron woman who was hit in the head with a can of beer that Hulk Hogan and his like team were trucking beers into the crowd at some event.
You shouldn't do that.
He split her head open. She had to have 10 stitches, allegedly.
Well, that is, I mean, geez, that sounds terrible.
So another legal issue to deal with, I guess.
Sure. Well, and they were using they're working on launching sort of like a real wrestling off of the Real American Beer, like where it would actually be like collegiate Olympic style wrestling, a whole new promotion. This would be the primary sponsor. So I think there are a lot of stakeholders in this, kind of just the ties that it has in the sports entertainment community. I guess we will see what happens. Sorry they didn't go with Patriot Pilsner. That one really sounds like a winner. I mean, can't you just put like George Washington on that one? Still bring that one out?
I don't know, man.
Maybe not the same kind of clout.
Yeah, little bit different.
Yeah. Okay. Our next most popular story. I'm so aware that I don't have a beard right now because you brought it up. No, it's just like, is it the same? No, Nutella maker Ferrero plans to buy century-old cereal maker WK Kellogg for $3.1 billion. Ferrero, the Italian company known for brands like Nutella and Tic Tac, is buying WK Kellogg. The company will pay some $3.1 billion in an effort to expand its North American sales. The deal includes 6 manufacturing plants, some 3,000 employees, and the marketing and distribution of its breakfast cereals across the United States and Canada. Kellogg, which was founded in Battle Creek, Michigan in 1906, now has 4 U.S. plants, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Nebraska. It also has a plant in Mexico and a plant in Canada. WK Kellogg was formed in 2023. That's when Kellogg spun off its snack division into Kellanova. Ferrero has been trying to expand its U.S. footprint. In 2018, it bought Nestle's U.S. candy brands, and in 2022, it bought Wells Enterprises. That's the company that makes Blue Bunny ice cream. WK Kellogg's brands have suffered from the long-term decline in U.S. cereal consumption, and this might give Ferrero a firmer foothold in the United States, but do you think that the company can get more people to eat cereal?
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's their plan. And in some ways, this is good timing for them. Kellogg split from Kellanova, and they were well on their way to becoming basically an integrated standalone company. They added new IT systems. They got away from the warehouse infrastructure that they had been sharing with that snack division that sold to Mars in 2023. So they were doing that. And then in 2024, they started cutting some costs, doing some reorganization. So there was some talk, I think, in the industry leading up to this, that this business might be sold. Also, keep in mind that their stock was trading, I think, lower than any of their competitors, really. So Ferrero probably looked at this as like an opportunity to turn this business around a little bit. And it was, this business was doing okay. Last year, their sales were down. But in 2023, they had a good year. So it's not like they're, a lost cause by any means.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to note when we talk about cereal, kind of in the vein of reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
So we know that for years, cereal has been on the decline. Like that's been well proven. But if you actually look at the numbers, cereal is still a $10 billion industry, and it's still the number 1 breakfast food for kids and the number 2 for adults. So despite some headwinds that they're dealing with in terms of like, is it appealing to Gen Z? Is it grab and go enough? Is it too high carb, too high sugar, whatever? Some challenges for certain, but cereal's actually...
Yeah. It's in my cabinet.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Served it this morning.
And mine, I know. And so if you're looking to expand your North American footprint, as Ferrero is, and get this major brand at potentially a discount, maybe they can breathe new life into it. They have done that before. So that's kind of been their strategy, is they've taken some food and drink businesses and breathed new life into them. Obviously, going after these younger demographics is important. They need to innovate and kind of find ways to resonate with this younger audience, but that's their plan. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. This might be the right leadership for the big cereal resurgence, but we'll see.
Well, in another industry that really needs to make some changes with competition from generic alternatives as well right now. Jeff, so Brad Holler, he's the senior partner for mergers and acquisitions at West Monroe. He said that Kellogg's large distribution network and relationships with grocery chains in North America are likely appealing to Ferrero because it would help this European company negotiate pricing and positioning for its products. The purchase also helps the company expand beyond snacks and sweets and into the meal category. Holler actually says that the company could end up cutting Kellogg brands or shutting down manufacturing plants. Do you see that as did Ferrero make this play because they just need a bigger in with grocery chains in North America?
I think it helps. I think that is a big part. When you look at the manufacturing infrastructure that they're also acquiring here, 6 plants, and then even more importantly, all those relationships with all those retailers, that's enormous.
Yeah.
Backtracking a little bit, and I do agree primarily with what Anna said about cereal still being a good place to be, but I also think it's dependent on where you want to be. I think this is a situation where maybe for WK Kellogg, this was a good time to get out. When you look at some of the different dynamics that are in place here, sugar prices are going up, wheat prices are going up. Some of this is impacted even a little bit by tariffs and some of the things that are going on with supply chain. Consumer preferences are changing a little bit. We still have 5 boxes of cereal in the cupboard, but they're probably going to be there longer than they were in the past.
Yeah.
You know, there's just some of those other competitive elements in place. So you can see why this might be a good time for somebody to want to get out. But when you look at Ferrero, and I had no idea how many brands they have, like in the candy category, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, Baby Ruth, Butterfinger, Brock's is an affiliated brand. So there's not only that manufacturing infrastructure that they're obtaining, but also there's a lot of really interesting sort of cross-brand promotions that could take place here in terms of different holidays, especially like Halloween. I mean, Rice Krispies, I don't know. I know a lot of people eat them as breakfast cereal, but to me, they're Rice Krispie treats.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and a lot of these brands as well, when you look at Corn Flakes, Frosted Flakes, it's almost like a candy bar with some of the stuff that they do put out. They put out like cereal bars and stuff like that. So you could see some pretty interesting packages that could come together here. I think it's a great move for Ferrero. Again, leveraging all the things that we've been talking about here, but then also some of that cross-promotional opportunity. So, yeah, interesting.
What are your go-to cereal brands or cereals?
I don't eat a lot of cereal myself. The one that I really like is Raisin Bran Crunch.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Anna?
Yeah.
Do you have a go-to cereal?
I also don't eat a lot of cereal.
No?
But no.
Post O's, the best.
Post-O's?
Post O's. It's my absolute favorite. Never been really conscious of what was on that nutrition label until I started having kids. I'm like, you know what? They got to understand what O's are, and they are just like half of your sugar for the day.
Oh, you know what I do like? And I'm embarrassed to say it because it's such a nerdy sounding name, but Quaker Oat Squares.
Oh,
Anyone?
not at all.
Delightful.
Yeah. Quite a
so
delight.
crunchy.
Yeah.
Grew up with Tony the Tiger.
Yeah.
Frosted Flakes were definitely the go-to.
Okay. You know what I think might also be really hurting the cereal category? So as a family, I got really into these like high protein cereals that are all the rage right now. They're like $9 a box to buy Fruity Spoons. But one of the big things is that, it's protein, it's not sugar. And so you're only getting like 6 to 8% of your daily sugar per serving instead of like 24. But what I noticed was that, so I tried to move our entire family off of all traditional cereals and onto these high protein cereals, and they stopped eating cereal. Like my kids didn't want it at all. Like,
no way.
No, well, and they were like, they're good for like the first couple, but it's not something where, obviously it's not as addictive as sugar. So they don't wake up like jonesing for it, but they made other options. They wanted toast and oatmeal instead of a box of cereal. And so I was wondering if when we talk about some of these better for you categories, just eating into them kind of naturally, I think it could be because some of these alternatives are more expensive and then really kind of just sour people to the category in general. Have you tried the high protein cereals?
No.
Oh, okay. I do like them, but man, I wish that they...
Breakfast has got to be the hardest meal of the day for me to do something healthy.
Yeah.
Like I need some carbs. Some sugar, something heavy. Like I need something to get me going here.
Yeah, no, I'm still eating like I'm going to work 12 hours on a farm. Just like, half a dozen eggs and a pound of bacon and maybe 4 or 5 things of toast. That should get me through a work day at my desk.
At your desk.
Yeah. Need to do more of those walks throughout the day. All right. Our next most popular story this week. Family of man killed in Cybertruck fire sues Tesla. Tesla is facing a new $1 million lawsuit in Texas. In August 2024, 47-year-old Michael Sheehan's Cybertruck veered off the road, hit a culvert, and caught fire. Sheehan was trapped inside, and the blaze allegedly reached 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. While it was a single vehicle crash and the driver was drunk, the lawsuit contends that the crash forces were survivable, but the Cybertruck's deformation contributed to the fire and prevented the driver from escaping the fire. The defective design claims include the use of a highly volatile battery prone to thermal runaway, despite the availability of an alternative battery chemistry that could have allowed more time to escape after the crash. The lawsuit also labeled the vehicle, quote, not crashworthy due to multiple factors, including the design of energy-absorbing structures near the battery modules. The family also claims the door have a defective design that don't allow occupants to open them once power is lost. The family is also suing Barn Whiskey Bar, claiming that the establishment overserved Sheehan alcohol on the night of the crash. So, Anna, this one's a little bit more murky given the drunk driving aspect to it. But still, Tesla faces design complaints that are becoming a little too common right now. Will the company fight these claims, or do you see a settlement likely on the horizon?
It depends, I guess. Obviously, this is an incredibly sad story, and you feel sympathy for any family dealing with the loss of a loved one. But I do see what looks like maybe some challenges in terms of their ability to win this case based on some of the things they're arguing simultaneously. Defective design is one thing. If you're trying to contend that this individual truly could not escape, I don't know how you argue that at the same time you sue the bar for having overserved him alcohol.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just if we were to infer that he was intoxicated there, I think that would certainly undermine the claim that the design is the reason that he was unable to open up that door. The battery thing is another thing. I think if the battery thing were successful, so this premise that because better technology existed, they should have used it. I think you'd have to apply that logic to every vehicle. If you look at EVs, statistically have actually the lowest rate of fire compared to both gas vehicles and hybrid vehicles. Then shouldn't all vehicles be electric then because they have the lowest chance of starting on fire? I mean, by that logic, that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think that's not really been established in automotive that if there's a higher quality component or design or that it is required to be used, unless it's a regulatory issue, which it is not in this case, then again, I don't see how they win on that claim. But I will say that Tesla's been sued a lot over the years. And they have been known to, as you said, settle before these reach trial. So I don't think, it's not uncommon for Tesla to seek out a settlement just to make it go away. But if the case has a lot of holes in it, maybe they will let it go to trial. I don't know. There's actually one suit right now that's against Tesla that had just went to trial in Florida. It was over a 2019 incident where a Tesla on autopilot slammed into a parked car at 50 miles per hour, which crashed into two bystanders, killing one and severely injuring another. So they're like literally in court right now. That trial is expected to take a couple weeks. It'll be interesting to see what happens in that. I know that, sometimes these manufacturers have a limited appetite for dealing with this type of litigation, especially if someone has a reasonable case. It's just much more cost effective for them to settle in advance to that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think Tesla has plenty of bad press also right now going on. So maybe it's not worth it to them to see it go to trial.
Part of that bad press, Jeff, has been, and not just Tesla, but other car manufacturers, but sort of the redesign of the door handle, right? And at what point is there an argument that inebriated or not, like a door handle design should be so simple in function that you should be able to do it under any state, and not need to know the very specific way to open a door from the inside if power is lost?
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing. I mean, door handles, man. I mean, really, this is not hard. This has been one of the first things when Henry Ford rolled one off the lines, like they had a door handle that was pretty straightforward to figure out. Yeah. This should not be hard. And this comes down to a lot of these lawsuits. Now, I think Tesla, they owe it to themselves to fight this one a little bit. I think it sets a very dangerous precedent when you start bowing to some of these things. Even if I understand the time and the resources involved with going to court and all of those things. But what's going to stop these from continuing if they don't kind of draw a line at some point?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a tough line to walk and how to balance some of that stuff out. I think it is worth noting that the Cybertruck, it does have a 5-star NHTSA rating for front and side crash testing. So to say that the design was off, that's argumentative. I think it's very a personal dynamic.
Yeah, hard to prove.
I would tend to lean towards, you made the personal choice to purchase this vehicle. You knew what it was made of, or you should have. Yeah. This is the decision that was made. I don't think that's on Tesla. But at the same time, make the door handle easy. Yeah. I mean, this shouldn't take training.
Right? Yeah. It is odd how often it comes up. Like, and so this is the first wrongful death suit, or likely the first one that Tesla has faced involving a Cybertruck. There is another lawsuit a few months after this death. Actually, 3 kids in California died after they crashed into a Cybertruck, or they crashed in a Cybertruck and it caught fire. At least one of those victims is suing the driver and owner of the car, but not Tesla. So we are seeing more lawsuits kind of around this technology and the complications that it presents. But I'm kind of really curious, and I'm kind of with you, Jeff, where like, in terms of they should fight it regardless, because there's a lot of moving pieces in this one. But I could also understand why they wouldn't want that noise.
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act.
Yeah. All right. Our next most popular story. The world's skinniest EV isn't very fast. Italian designer Andrea Marazzi recently chopped up a 1993 Fiat Panda to create the world's narrowest EV. The historic feat yielded a fully drivable car that's less than 20 inches wide. And yes, I know what you're thinking, but I would fit in it. Marazzi started with the chassis of an old Fiat Panda, cut it vertically, and sandwiched the parts together. Marazzi used his family's auto recycling business and workshop to make about 99% of the parts, all from original stock components. The EV runs on a pair of 12-volt batteries and a 24-volt motor. It weighs about 580 pounds. It's about 5 feet tall and tops out at 9.3 miles per hour. But don't worry, it has quite a range of 15.5 miles. So it doesn't go fast, and if you're in it, you're not going to be in it for long. According to Design Boom, it took Marazzi about 12 months to complete the project, which isn't street legal, but it's still really popular at live events. Marazzi is now pursuing official recognition as the narrowest car ever built from Guinness World Records. Anna, do you see any use beyond a PR stunt for this petite panda? And I mean, if not, that's okay, right?
Yeah, I actually don't. I think it's hilariously unusable. But that's not really the point, right?
Yeah.
So this is like full-fledged like tinker stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like industry-wide we're seeing a lot of companies at least try to crack the code on whether it makes more sense to make a full-on EV that's smaller or to add a roof and a floor to an electric motorbike.
Yeah.
Because you've seen like variations of all of those things everywhere. Like there's a Canadian company called Envo Drive Systems that's producing essentially an electric four-wheeler that's completely modular. You can add like a roof. You could use it as a cart. Mm-hmm. There's a 3-wheel EV that Fiat has developed for last mile delivery. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in development. We cover this stuff constantly.
Oh yeah.
Like just like a rotating, like here's the new thing.
Yeah.
So I do think there's like a real lot of innovation going on as it relates to this category. Businesses trying to perfect what the market actually needs. And I think there is a niche that's kind of a gap there for something that's small, easy to park, cheap to operate,
Mm-hmm.
You know, for urban areas, or maybe it's delivery, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't think anyone's quite hit the nail on the head yet, but this, I think, is just a mechanic trying to go viral. I don't think that there's really much more to it than that. But
yeah, and I would actually, it'll be interesting to see like which manufacturers basically try to copy this, because they've seen all the craze around it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what marketing departments trying to plan their viral moments just thirst for. You know, just like, if only we cut it up and sandwiched it to make a really skinny one.
Yeah, get a Guinness Book of World Records and see what's not in there.
See what's not in
and
there.
And then we'll do that.
Can you do it in 19 inches? Like, I don't know. I thought it was really cool. And you're right. Like, we keep seeing manufacturers come up with similar alternatives, suggesting that, I mean, a lot of people really want to figure it out, and there really could be a demand there. I mean, we had one person on the video say, you know, make it a little wider and more powerful, and in the American market, you really got something. I mean, do you think there is? I mean, I could see that if you made it not look so obviously tippy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like he kind of takes a long turn and it still wobbles and is like, oh, I don't know. I think that one's going over pretty quick. Like, I mean, do you see a market for that?
I don't know. The American market isn't probably where it would start with this, but there are like, if you look at European cities, there's like a lot more of a need for a, they're more open to EVs, first of all.
Yeah.
And just like tighter, congested urban streets, very difficult parking. So if you wanted to try it, I would do that there, but
Okay.
not here.
Jeff, is this closer to a motorcycle than a car?
No.
No?
No.
I don't know. I mean,
No.
it seems like it's comical that it has 4 wheels.
Yeah, I mean, for stability. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, I think it's closer to like the Bird or like the Lime motor scooters
that
you rent, except they're safer, much safer.
The scooters are safer?
No, this would
this would
be
be safer?
much safer. It doesn't go as fast.
Oh, that's
I
true.
mean,
It doesn't go as fast as
It like
a
goes
scooter.
like 10 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
so if you maybe, you know,
See, like these lined up on the side of the road?
that's the only thing, and that's okay. Like we were talking about, that's okay. You know, my immediate thought process is this a thing that can lead to the thing? And I don't really see that anywhere. I think it's just this guy wanted to do something cool and tinker around. And I think, as we've discussed, that should be celebrated as well. You never know what this could inspire. There's somebody else out there. There's some kid who's going to say, you know what, that is kind of cool. I dig that. I wonder how he did it. How could I do it better? And that's how we continue to innovate and move things forward to something we haven't thought about before. So I applaud this individual for putting this together. I think it's great that he's gotten all this recognition. He can take it to shows and show it off. I think the other thing it illustrates is there's been a real negative conversation tone around EVs. They continue. We sell more every year.
Yeah.
Just because it hasn't hit some of those crazy projections that were thrown out there initially, both in the U.S. and globally, there's still a lot of interest in electric vehicles. I think that's why this article got so much interest, is because there is still people curious about what can we do with this technology?
Yeah.
What makes sense moving forward? So,
Well, and if it doesn't lead to another marketable thing, it could also lead to another artistic thing. You know, like Zombie Gamer 7278 says it hurts to look at. But, you know, there are a number of people that could look at it and be like, I don't know, that's kind of cool. What could we make it like? Could we sandwich it? How short can we get it?
I mean, I just looked at it and felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing that could get me into that vehicle.
Well, I like how it's so skinny that he actually had to take the regular seat, basically cut 2/3 of the middle out, sandwich the sides together to make it. And then he had to put like basically a tiny little Tykes steering wheel in there in order to get it to fit.
Looks like the thing for the Wii.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like a little Wii steering wheel. But I don't know. That was, this was a story coming out of our summer break. And it's just kind of like sometimes the stories can just be like, you know what? This is fun.
Yeah.
This is fun. A good idea. The guy is clearly talented, and it's kind of interesting to see how many talented engineering and manufacturing types or professionals are out there. And now they're influencers, right? Now they're content creators. And it's just...
Well, I mean, we talk about the skills gap all the time.
Yeah.
These are the types of things we should promote in terms of manufacturing engineering, innovation in engineering, to get people more interested in these trades where we need them in the plants.
If you had this at IMTS and people could drive it, that's a lot of feet or a lot of people in the booth. I don't know. It'd be a lot more fun than just like, hey, you want to hitch a ride on an autonomous AGV? But no, I'm gonna go 10 miles per hour on the super skinny car.
See you in 4 hours.
All right. Our most popular story this week. Time runs out for 99-year-old Michigan clock company. Howard Miller Company has been making grandfather clocks, wall clocks, and furniture in Michigan for about 99 years. This year, the company is stopping production, but plans to stick around in 2026 to sell its remaining inventory. The Zealand-based company, which is about 200 miles east of Madison via ferry, has been looking for a buyer, but has yet to find one that winds its clock. CEO Buzz Miller, grandson of founder Howard Miller, told the AP, quote, "Furniture sales are closely linked to the health of the housing market, which is struggling. Our hopes for a market recovery early in the year were quickly dashed as tariffs rattled the supply chain, sparked recession fears, and pushed mortgage rates higher." Miller says tariffs have increased the cost of essential components that just aren't available in the United States. The company has 200 employees in Michigan and North Carolina. Anna, it seems like another podcast, another story in which tariffs are seemingly the last straw for a niche manufacturer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like quite a few other straws in this pile, honestly. I mean, I'm curious if they had to do other downsizing to the company over the years prior to this tariff component being part of the picture.
Yeah.
I ask because looking at their product line and on their website, there seems to be quite a few items that I would consider that are kind of generationally retiring. One sunsetting. One is the grandfather clock. I think, they also have a big focus on things like curio cabinets as well as like TV consoles, which I don't know are super popular now that everything is like sleek and wireless and mounted. You don't really need a big cabinet for your DVDs and
you don't see a lot
VCR.
of entertainment centers around these days.
You really don't. So I just think like consumer tastes have changed. But this stuff is still very front and center on the Howard Miller website, which I thought was maybe a red flag. The other challenge, of course, is that these custom clocks and the bar furniture and that type of stuff that they sell is really more of an upscale product.
Yeah.
And, if consumers are pulling back right now, as we keep hearing, and skipping these more premium items, then it's hard enough to sell those. Then you can't like raise prices because you have higher input costs and then sell them at higher prices. Right. Yeah, exactly. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like, tariffs get called a scapegoat, sometimes. But I do think it's precisely tariffs that can help kind of knock a precarious business off. Yeah. Maybe they would have more time if a turnaround play were in process to try to figure out like how can we rebrand or how can we modernize our product line, this aging product line that doesn't align with consumer trends. Maybe they would have more time to do that if not for this issue that is enough, I think, to kind of be the final straw, as you say. So I don't know. It's too bad. You don't know how big of a role those tariffs were. Obviously, there are other issues here, but yeah, a lot of straws.
Well, I mean, the components on the grandfather clocks alone, I understand that those get costly. And, when I was looking at the site too, it was the same thought, like beautiful furniture, beautiful clocks, but like costly, right? I was always told that like when they don't tell you the price, that typically means that you don't even need to ask because it's so expensive. And I was just really getting those vibes where I'm like, oh man, these are really cool. Like, how much is it? And then they're like, more information, specifications, just like I'm clicking a lot of buttons. Like I'm making a lot of like buying choices on the website and I'm still not getting a price, which means there are a lot. And, I'm just as guilty of this. We used to have 2 grandfather clocks, right? But they were just expensive and impractical. And I think that like you can bring something like that into your home for the novelty, but man, does that wear off, especially when it's a reoccurring cost and kind of a pain.
Well, and are millennials buying a grandfather clock now to pass down to the generations? But I just don't think that stuff people aren't doing that stuff anymore.
True. These are clocks that I inherited. These are like family heirlooms. Jeff, I don't know if this has ever happened to you where like, you inherit something. Okay. You've never like inherited something and you're just like, you thought it was cool, but then you realize like over time, it's just impractical to like upkeep or like, I mean, like
everything
have we met before? Yeah. I mean, really?
I mean, there's got to be sentimentality in there somewhere. You're just like, oh yeah, I had one of those in my garbage. No, I got a clock. I got like a mantle clock from my grandfather, and there was a key, and you had to wind it like every so many hours, and it was just like, man, I loved hearing it on the hour, and then like a couple of weeks later, I'm like, yeah, maybe not anymore.
No, I mean, I got one of those from my dad. It was like his big thing when he retired, and yeah, to your point. I don't even think it's a price thing. I don't think it's the maintenance thing. It's just consumer preferences have changed.
Yeah.
A clock is it just needs to be functional. We have, I don't even wear a watch because I've got my phone with me all the time. That's where I see what time it is. I mean, it's just not a need. So I think where the tariffs come in, I think, I've been very critical of companies blaming tariffs for shutdowns, reductions in workforce, all of that kind of stuff. Here, it makes a lot of sense because I think the big part that they are dealing with is the uncertainty element. And they touched on that with consumers not knowing what's going on. They're not spending as much right now, not even because the tariffs are impacting them necessarily. It's because they don't know how they're going to impact them. And I think Where that especially comes into place with a company like this is if they're going to pivot, if they're going to try to innovate, if they're going to try to do something different, they can't because there's a huge risk involved with that as well. So how do they pivot not knowing what the consumer is going to do? Even if they come up with the next best idea in timekeeping, is the consumer actually going to feel comfortable buying it? I don't know if we're going back to sundials or whatever.
Yeah, sundials.
Man, those are so in right now.
Yeah. Whatever. I mean, they could come up with the most revolutionary product possible, but if the consumer's like, not now, then all of that R&D, all of the additional marketing, everything else is worthless because there's just this uncertainty. And I think that's the big part of what is impacting this company right now.
I think you are really onto something here.
Sundials?
I think we get into sundials right now.
No one is even doing that
No one's
right
doing
now.
sundials
Huge
right
market
now.
niche.
Yeah, like, I mean,
As a
can you
wearable?
even get one? As a wearable? What's that? That's my wearable sundial. It's don't touch it. It's
You know what? A lot of people are doing it.
a lot of people are doing sundials. I just we'll
hop
find
on Etsy.
We'll find our spot. We'll find our spot in the market.
Pocket sundial, Jeff.
Yeah.
Pocket sun.
That's a thing.
Oh, really? Interesting.
How does that work? If it's in your pocket,
I'll send you the link.
Doug Hatch, first and foremost, says, and you can just ask Alexa, what time is it? But yes, Doug, Alexa's also listening to everything else in your life and dissecting it into tiny little pockets of marketable information. Oh, and then he also just says, it's just a joke, David, about the previous story. The guy was bored at his family junkyard. Yeah, but he turned it into like 12 months of like profitable viral content. There's like...
He had fun.
Yeah, it's viable. All right. As a content idea, Doug, not as a next generation EV product, I understand. All right, before we jump into, in case you missed it, the stories maybe not as popular on our websites like IN.com and manufacturing.net. We have another word from our sponsor, Red Zone. This week's episode is brought to you by Red Zone. Watching employees walk away shortly after spending ample resources training them is incredibly frustrating, and while harder to spot, unengaged or unproductive employees are also negatively impacting the return on labor investment. Well, a new webinar from Red Zone features experts who discuss the roots of high turnover in manufacturing, how successful leaders support growth for employees, and methods for improving operational visibility. So, watch the webinar, How Coil Specialist Tackled Employee Reliability by, quote, leading well. Right now. Download it right now. There's a link in the live chat and in the body copy. Let's get into, in case you missed it, those stories. Maybe not as popular on our websites, but could still make a big impact on the industry going forward. Anna, what's your story this week?
I picked an article titled Engineering Professor Develops Eco-Friendly Method of Creating Semiconductor Materials for Electronics. So it's about a Virginia Commonwealth University researcher who developed an alternative method of producing semiconductor materials that are more environmentally friendly. So obviously, I think we've all heard in the past that some of these materials can be considered toxic. Mm-hmm. Obviously we use more and more semiconductors in electronics. And so to get around these toxic solvents, these researchers created a new method called quantum dots using proteins at room temperature and water, resulting in a more environmentally friendly synthesis method. So instead of using high temperatures and pressures, which is not great for sustainability, they kind of skip the environmental damage and the high production costs as well. They say that this work builds on natural examples of proteins creating materials known as biomineralization.
Oh, very... very big right now.
It's a biomineralization.
Yes.
Very big deal.
Very big deal.
So they make the pocket sundials.
Mm-hmm.
Similar process.
Yes, everyone knows that. So I picked this story because it's been like kind of an exhausting couple of months managing the news cycle.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of really negative stories, a lot of drama, a lot of disagreement,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of controversy. So we used to cover this kind of stuff a lot where it was just somebody's like, hey, we came up with a better way of doing this. And I thought, well, semiconductors is such a key industry for not just domestic manufacturing, but also globally. It's just there's a tremendous need for semiconductors. We need chips and everything. And so if they can find a way to produce them in a way that's even like, moderately better.
Yeah, 1% better.
then that's a huge, huge impact. So
Yeah. I was glad that you picked this story too. And you're right. Like there has been a lot less, let's say, R&D work, a lot less news coming out of academia lately, just because I feel like there's this vibe out there where like nobody kind of wants to put their nose out there at all, even if it's for like something really cool on the tech side, just like, hey, let's not put ourselves out there anywhere because all of a sudden we could become a target. But I thought this was a really cool story. And I mean, you're right. Like making this at all a little bit more sustainable could go a really long way because, I mean, up until recently, we saw huge moves in semiconductor manufacturing in the U.S. Who knows where a lot of that stands now, but it's still going to have to take place somewhere. And let's hope that we can maybe make them a little bit better.
Yeah.
Jeff, your thoughts on this story?
Well, the biggest thing that came to my mind first from an environmental perspective or a production perspective is just the water. Yeah. That's the one thing we always talk about with semiconductor manufacturing is they need to bring in or source all of this water for keeping everything cool and clean and everything else. So if we find a way that becomes less prohibitive, that opens up different geographies as well that we can have semiconductor manufacturing. All of a sudden, we don't need to build 5, 10, $15 billion plants. Yeah. We can have smaller facilities that are capable of doing this work and making our supply chain much stronger, more resilient in a lot of different ways. So I like it.
Well, Jeff, what was your In Case You Missed It story this week?
So I also wanted to go with something a little lighter, although I was tempted to pick some tariff stories or something else. So I picked a story called Fighting a Pest with Billions of Flies. So how the U.S. has plans to fight a pest with billions of flies and why it could work. I thought this was a cool story. So just to set it up, essentially there is an actual, like, if you want to call it a property line in Panama that says, don't take your cattle past this line. The reason that line of demarcation was put in place is because of this screwworm larva from flies. That basically, if we keep it south of this line, we can make sure it doesn't get into more cattle and really screw up our beef processing industry and a lot of different elements there. Well, being human beings, we just can't do that.
No.
Yeah. So we've migrated cattle. We've done things we shouldn't have done. And as a result, this screwworm larva now is getting further and further north. It's getting into Mexico to the point where we actually had to close the border to beef cattle coming into the U.S. from Mexico because we're worried about this screwworm larva fly getting to our cattle. Because once it gets on you, you're not getting rid of it. It basically, not to be too gross here, it eats its way out.
It's a flesh-eating maggot.
Yes. The Latin term for it loosely translates to man-eater. So whether it gets into cattle, person, anything, if it gets into a wound, a scratch, whatever the case is, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay? So the way that we're going to fight this is the same way they fought this when we screwed up 50 years ago. They're basically going to release a bunch of flies that are treated to not be able to reproduce. So the thought is they're going to go down, reproduce with the flies that are there, or mate with the flies that are already there, but they can't reproduce, so they'll gradually kill off the population of flies. The actual lifespan of one of these flies is like 7 to 30 days, so it could happen relatively fast once they reduce the flies. So right now they're in the process, and the article outlines this. It's pretty interesting, I think, if you can get into how they're developing these production facilities for these flies that are not allowed to reproduce. Sterilization, the flies that have been sterilized. So, and there's a lot of different quality control elements because they got to make sure like a non-sterile fly doesn't get in there and screw up the batch. They've got to figure out different ways to drop the flies into these areas. So there's a lot of different interesting dynamics, but what it comes down to is we as human beings have always made nature's work much harder for it. Okay? There's a natural way of keeping things running smoothly. And here we screwed up because, again, we're bringing stuff too far north. We're migrating too much cattle. We're not following the rules, but nature's got a way of bailing us out. And I just thought it was a cool application of sort of the simplest technology available, solving what could be a huge, huge problem.
And if we could just get any footage of when they release these billions of flies via airdrop, what do you think that's going to look like?
Well, I think they're a little, more judicious than billions of flies
just like,
at one time. But I mean,
it says what they do. Scientists put the flies in paper cups and then drop the cups out of planes using special chutes.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that they're looking at.
That sounds hilarious.
Yeah, like how do you get that gig? Is it just like really nothing else with the flights? You need me to fly the planes? I get the fly factory. Okay. I mean, hey, but you're kind of like saving the beef industry.
Well, 100%. And the other thing that they're kind of thinking about is before when they did this, they shut down these facilities. Now it's kind of like, should we just maybe keep them up and running even once we're past this, just in case we screw it up again?
Yeah.
So it could be an ongoing production cycle of sterilized flies.
Anna, can you imagine being like called back in? Just like, hey, man, we need you back. We got to start the factory up again because you're like some sort of fly factory specialist.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get into that? What a unique specialty.
Ugh.
I mean,
Remind me not to learn it.
well, it's, I mean, it is kind of crazy that they sterilize them with radiation before releasing them. And it is just, I don't know. I guess, on one side of it, you can look at it as we keep putting ourselves in these increasingly difficult problems that we need to innovate our way out of. But at least we're still finding ways to get ourselves out of a jam,
Yep.
via millions of flies via airdrop.
We're enabling nature to do what it's supposed to do,
Yeah.
essentially. And I think it's something we should look at more often.
Flies feed on live flesh. This is actually, I've been following this story. It's very intriguing. All right, in case you missed it this week, racing success comes down to a matter of microns. So Devin Verbsky's coverage from Hexagon Live included a panel, the Innovation at Speed. This was all in Las Vegas in the middle of June. So earlier this year, George Russell won the Formula One Canadian Grand Prix by about 0.228 seconds, a little bit closer than that home run derby was finished on Monday. In order to win, racers require vehicles that meet precise demands, down to every damper, bolt, screw, or sensor. Scott Mansell, a former British driver, said, quote, every hundredth of a second counts, which means that every one of the thousands of components has to be absolutely perfect, and every component in the car has to be measured to micron level precision. Now, I chose this story just because I like when we get out into the industry and we go to these panels and you kind of see this technology in action, right? Like, and I think it's kind of cool to, we often talk about how this technology is created in this weird racing arena, right? And then it all winds up coming in the greater automotive industry. And I thought that this was kind of a really cool example of that. So Morgan Maya is the senior technical partnerships manager for Oracle Red Bull Racing. He broke down what it takes to prepare 2 cars for all 24 races throughout the year for the team. Due to the schedule that has weekly races from Australia to China and US, these cars are kind of always on the move. So those working to improve vehicle performance have to do so without the vehicle ever being in front of them. And there isn't time to make mistakes when a part is going to be manufactured, shipped, installed, and raced in front of millions of fans in less than a week. These parts have to be perfect from spec to performance, as the driver's life depends upon these 8,000 parts working together simultaneously. This story goes into greater detail about how these hexagon scanners provide a link between the simulated and the real world. Jeff, I don't know if you had a chance to check out this story, but I thought it was really cool because a lot of times, we see these applications in automotive lend themselves to sort of regular consumer automotive applications. But then we also, these are scanners that we see in manufacturing environments as well. And we talk every day about these applications that come down to the micron level. When you're talking about building a medical device that's going in your body, you need that kind of precision too. So I think it's good to kind of tell these stories and how they impact various lives around the world.
Well, and this is a super interesting one too. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not talking about a CNC machine here. We're talking about a race car, which makes it a lot more interesting there, but also ties in a lot of more real world applications to a wider group of people to appreciate. So yeah, and it's super competitive as well within racing. So being able to pinpoint competitive advantages, those are things that can equate to everybody's everyday life, especially in manufacturing, which is so ultra competitive. I think it's cool too as well, because I think with a lot of the scanning and a lot of this technology from Hexagon, typically it's almost applied in a reverse engineering fashion traditionally. And here we're seeing a little bit more proactive approach to using some of the scanning technology and looking at the different tolerances and how it can have these, again, these wins. I mean, it's contributing to something performing better than the next guy.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be intriguing to everybody in manufacturing and beyond.
One, how some of these teams were early adopters with this technology, and now it's just standard. You know, they use it to supply these scans to the governing boards of these racing bodies, I guess. So Maya also said, quote, with the scanner, we can check to make sure everything is perfectly placed. It helps us through our simulations, through estimation, and through setup with engineers, mechanics, placing us precisely in tune once we hit the track. Anna, working down to the micron, these tolerances are tight. The team even works with specific temperatures because if there's, you know, a bad start, an F1 engine could explode, you know? So it's kind of a combination of like a really cool things go fast story, but also, you know, like, hey, this needs to be right. Otherwise people are in danger.
Yeah, exactly. What a great lesson in quality as well. Like, you know, they talk about how important it is every time they change a piece in and out that it's exactly to spec.
Yeah.
And we cover all the time catastrophes that occur because of some very small and insignificant seeming error, whether that be a piece of equipment that's defective or it's installed incorrectly or whatever, what have you. And it may not be apparent just based on like eyeball alone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was interesting to see this. And I agree. It's much more fun to put it in an application that's like exciting.
Yeah.
Sometimes that gets more eyeballs on it, which is what you need.
Do you sometimes find that, like, and this kind of ties into my final thought a little bit, but like, because we're so close to the industry, when like things are defective, like we know all the tools exist out there to make that not happen, you know? So it's like, whenever you see those stories, you're just like, someone cut a corner. It's very frustrating, you know, being so close to it, because like when you don't cover the industry, you're just like, no, how could this have happened? And it's like, actually, it's pretty simple. It kind of cheaped out. All right. Final thoughts before we get out of here. Anna, what's your final thought?
I just want to say that I know a couple weeks ago, Jeff, you brought in those very high-end ice cream sandwiches, which were fantastic.
Nightingale.
Yeah, Nightingale. That's what they were. And I thought that maybe my taste for Forever changed. And then my husband took our kids to the store and let them pick out some ice cream treats the other day. And my daughter brought back a box of like classics. And I had one, and I gotta be honest, they still rule.
They're still good.
Yeah, like that soggy chocolate square or whatever.
Yeah.
It's on the top.
Ice cream that melts way too fast.
Yeah, it melts really fast. These were Neapolitan, which is weird. It was still great.
There was so we went to a baseball game on Monday, and one of the guys that was there bought like perhaps the world's largest, like what's essentially like the old school DQ chipper sandwich.
The chipper,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, the chocolate chip cookies sandwich with like a massive amount of ice cream in between. And it was so big, I knew he wasn't going to get through it. And it was just like our relationship wasn't that close where I felt comfortable being like, hey, man, just pass it over here. I got the other half of that. And it was just like so tragic watching that thing just like slowly drip onto the ground. Like, no.
Oh,
we
that
could
is
have done so much more.
It's a really sad story.
So my final thought this week was that I was actually, we were recently introduced to the wonders of chocolate cheese. And man, going into that, thought it was gonna be gross, like low bar, but it actually exceeded expectations in terms of like it was basically fudge, like it tasted like a fudge.
Sure.
And it was incredible. So just like a good reminder that sometimes, you know, it's good to try odd things, even though you don't know what you're necessarily getting into, you know, watch out for allergies and whatnot. But yeah, chocolate cheese had everyone in the office kind of like, you go first. But it actually wound up being a pleasant surprise and just a good reminder to, if you can, I mean, recover almost all of this on our website. Not all of it, actually. Recover the big ones, but to maybe subscribe to and regularly check out the Consumer Product Safety Commission website. That's cpsc.gov, talking about how that kind of tied into my final thought with that previous story, Anna, was that, so I recently found out that like maybe my kitchen faucet is poisoning my family with lead. And that's always a hard one to find out. And the only reason I found out was because we frequently cover recalls and it came up, and there's no, it's a fixture that was installed before we bought the house. And so it's nothing that I'm ever going to receive an alert on. I never would have saw it unless we were covering the industry. And so just, even if you're not in the industry, a good reminder to check it out in the event that you are potentially poisoning your family with lead in your kitchen faucet. And it's just like, I got the plumber all set, but it's like another week, and it's like, don't touch it. Or if you do, let it run because it says, let it run for 30 seconds before you pour any water into a receptacle. Do you know how long 30 seconds is when like you have two incredibly thirsty, red-faced boys coming in from outside, just like, I need water, and it's just like,
don't you have a fridge water?
Yeah, but it's 5 feet further away than the faucet. So why would we ever go over there?
30 seconds.
No, I understand.
It's also like double filtered.
I completely understand, but we're reasoning with monsters here. It's like no, we need the water from there. But yes, I agree. In a pinch. But check out the cpsc.gov regularly to see if anything in your home is, poisoning you. Actually, one thing we want to send a congratulations to Doug Hatch. I don't know if you saw this, but so Doug has been flagged as a #1 fan of us on YouTube. Thank you very much, Doug.
Wow.
With 75 experience points. So, I mean, I guess we know where the bar is. Someone start challenging Doug here. But
awesome, Doug.
Leaderboard, Doug at the top of the #2.
He's on top of #2.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you very much, Doug. We really do appreciate the support and hanging out and talking about how all of our silly stories are just fun and not real and not marketable. Over it. Jeff, final thought this week?
So girls are working this summer. My middle daughter especially is working a lot. And it's been very interesting to hear her stories when she comes home she's working in a retail environment, and how much things really don't change in terms of like the employees that are difficult, the management struggles and getting people to show up and do their job. It's just really interesting to hear her articulate that.
Yeah.
And not be like, yeah, this is the last 20 years. Just so you know.
Yeah.
And there's more of this to come. But it definitely helps promote the fact that the kids getting these jobs over the summer is great and helps them set up for different things that you wouldn't even anticipate them learning. So it's been interesting to learning. And my younger daughter too, some stuff, she also works in retail, some of the stuff she's been relating. It's been interesting, and trying to keep my mouth closed and not be like, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Just let them talk and talk it through and sort of assess their own situations.
Retail is its own special kind of torture. It's tough.
Yeah, life experience.
Yeah, it's been very entertaining for me. Frustrating for them.
Yeah, I mean, just that like triggers me. Just thinking of like middle managers in retail. Just lot of experiences there. Life
more
lessons.
The employees. Very
really? Like coworkers?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, very interesting.
Oh, man. Like pettiness?
David.
I'm just curious. Come on! All right, we're right
just
at the end
stuff.
here. Okay, this stuff. With my final thought, did you want to add like how important the cpsc.gov website is?
Huge.
Yep. See, I knew you were on board.
Yep.
All right. Before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review at whatever platform you use. If you want to email any of us, you can reach any of us at Jeff, Anna, or David at in.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You can also subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first, and subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine so you can join us live every Thursday, gain those experience points, and challenge Doug Hatch as the top fan of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. All right, for Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells, I'm David Manti. This is the Today in Manufacturing podcast, and we'll see you next week.